will be seen 30 minutes later tonight so that we can bring you the following special program from News Channel 4.
Good evening, I'm Mike Jacobs. It is a case that simply will not go away, the case of Lorencia Bembenek. For the most part, Bembenek has declined to talk about her case, but recently she was interviewed by the respected Canadian broadcasting program, The Journal. Over the last 2 nights, we have brought you excerpts of that interview on News Channel 4 at 10. But now the entire 30-minute documentary, Justice on Trial, by reporter Susan Harada and producer Marge Slatt. We want to warn you that some of the...
Beside the expressway cutting down the length of Milwaukee, on a dark stretch of residential road, is the house where Christine Schultz was murdered. On May 28, 1981, in the dim light of her still flickering TV, the 30-year-old woman lay sleeping. Right across the hall were her sons, 7-year-old Shannon and 11-year-old Sean. There were screams, a gunshot. Sean Schultz was left nearly strangled. Christine Schultz was dead. Oddly enough, nobody in this neighborhood heard or saw anything. The only witnesses, the boys, said the killer brushed past them on the way out. They said he was a tall, heavy man with a red ponytail, wearing something green. The streets of Southside Milwaukee after midnight are so quiet and so still, it's eerie. And on a night much like this one, sometime just after 2 o'clock, police say Lorencia Bembenek committed murder. And then, wearing a green jogging suit, a red wig pulled back into a ponytail, and black police-type Oxford shoes, they say she jogged home down these 18 blocks, 1.5 miles, and nobody spotted her. She was back in her apartment about 15 minutes after the murder, composed enough to sound sleepy and surprised when her husband, Fred Schultz, phoned to tell her Christine was dead.
I was very groggy, and I thought I had dreamt the whole thing. I didn't know what was going on.
That phone call changed her life. 27 days later, she was charged with first-degree murder. Now in custody in Toronto, Bembenek recalls the shock of being arrested.
It's a very confusing experience, and only somebody who goes through it can understand. It was a nightmare. It was just a nightmare, and I was trying very, very hard to understand what was going on, and that's all.
Who was this 22-year-old woman that police thought her capable of committing such a crime? Her photos reveal she was many people. Through high school and on into college, she showed different faces to the world. A fashion teacher, a fitness instructor, a display artist at a retail store, a police officer who was fired for supposedly filing a false report, a woman who believed strongly in women's rights, but who posed once for a beer company calendar and did a brief stint as a Playboy bunny waitress. The Laurie some saw was trusting to the point of naivete, straightforward and idealistic. Longtime friends Donna and Walter Yonke.
She was very warm, open. She would do anything for you.
Very straight. Her parents and her both Polish Catholic. Pretty straight background. Believe it or not, even shy.
Have you ever doubted that Laurie did not murder Christine Schultz?
No. No, not for a second. She's not capable of it.
And we never even talked about it.
It was never a question.
Mm-mm.
But it was a question to others who looked at Bembenek and saw someone sophisticated and streetwise, a tough talker who remained composed even when police came to arrest her for the murder of Christine Schultz. Retired Detective Bill Vogel spoke to Bembenek when she was brought to the station after her arrest.
She didn't move any limb, any part of her body, didn't blink an eye, and just looked at me.
What did that say to you?
Said to me, a very cold, hard person. Very cold person. I personally feel she lacks the mental capacity of emotion.
Miss Bembenek, would you stand up, please?
That's the picture painted of Bembenek when she was brought to trial in February 1982. Every day for nearly 2 weeks, Spectators crowded the courtroom to take a look at the glamorous accused murderer, a woman described by the prosecution as vain and selfish, who expected life's luxuries. The motive, they said, was straightforward and classic: money. Bembenek had been married to Fred Schultz for 4 months. A police detective, he was divorced from Christine Schultz and had to pay her support each month. The prosecution claimed Bembenek's expensive tastes were hampered by those payments. That's why she killed her husband's ex-wife.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Lorencia Bembenek, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the information.
Bembenek received the automatic sentence of life in prison, despite the fact that the trial judge called it the most circumstantial case he'd ever heard. Despite the fact that the only witnesses at the murder scene, Sean and Shannon Schultz, swore they saw the killer and it wasn't Lori Bembenek. Clara Decker was on the jury that sent Bembenek to jail.
This is on Schultz's son when he was on a witness stand. That was a very hard time for the jurors listening to the children talk about it. I had tears in my eyes.
What did you think of his testimony, though? He did say it wasn't Lori.
Correct, yeah.
Did that sway you at all?
Well, he was one of the first on the stand. No, because he was one of the first witnesses.
The impact of Sean Schultz's testimony on Clara Decker faded as the trial wore on. In the end, she completely discounted his eyewitness account.
Well, when you listen to the witnesses, and then you make your decision, and then you have to decide, could she or could she have not entered the house and tried to strangle one of the children and kill Mrs. Schultz. That's when you have to make a decision after you listen to all the facts.
And what did you decide?
Well, 12 people decided she was guilty.
Yeah, but 12 individuals. What did you as an individual decide? What
12.
witnesses painted what sort of picture for you that made you think that, yes, she would be capable of doing that?
Well, it was a combination. It had to be a combination because it was circumstantial evidence.
And these are the circumstances on the night Christine Schultz died. Bembenek spent a quiet evening here in the apartment she and her husband had shared with a friend. She says she went to bed early. But here's the prosecution's version. They say she waited until her husband Fred left for his overnight police shift. Then she jogged through these streets to Christine Schultz's house, carrying a key to the front door and a loaded gun. She arrived at about 2 a.m., made her way to the upstairs bedroom where Schultz lay asleep, gagged her with a bandana, tied at least one of her hands, and then went across the hall to the boys' bedroom. According to police reports and court transcripts, Sean Schultz remembers he woke up and he saw a hand coming towards his face and felt something around his neck, like some type of elastic cord. He began struggling and screaming and pulled the cord off his neck. The person ran from the bedroom and Sean heard a loud bang come from his mother's bedroom. Then someone Sean describes as being a tall male with a heavy build, wearing dirty tan leather gloves, black police-type shoes, and a green jacket, ran down the stairs. The terrified Shannon caught only a glimpse of the man he described as having a red ponytail, wearing a dark green jogging suit.
What did they come up with? I mean, they came up with the physical description. The two witnesses that witnessed the guy that shot their mother testified it wasn't me. It absolutely wasn't me. They knew me. They were looking for a male suspect.
But they arrested a female, and the only person who will comment is Assistant District Attorney Robert Donahue. He was only peripherally involved with the original trial, but has defended the conviction ever since.
Both the facts at the original trial, plus investigation that has been done since then, based upon all those facts and circumstances, I have not been presented with anything that would cause me to believe that she did not commit the crime.
Did you kill Christine Schultz?
No, absolutely not. And I don't believe they ever produced any evidence that placed me at the crime scene. What?
As it stands, I'm afraid there may have been substantial miscarriage of justice. The physical evidence was used to a major extent, and I don't think it's acceptable unless reevaluated and reweighed.
Farm & Fleet has incredible pre-holiday savings in every department. Thermos tabletop gas grills make great gifts at just $19.99. Thermos 32-ounce coffee butlers are $15.99. Farm & Fleet has Mr. Coffee 10-cup coffee makers or compact 4-cup coffee makers. Your choice, only $14.99. Corning cookware trio sets or Corning Corel 16-piece dinnerware sets are your choice at $19.99. That's only at Farm & Fleet, where great value is a holiday tradition.
Dear Santa, now that I am almost grown up, I guess I can tell you. I know that Mom and Dad are your helpers, since you have so much to do on Christmas. So could you please take my presents to Northbridge and Southbridge, because that's where my Mom and Dad shop. P.S. I saw you kissing my mom last Christmas Eve. Love, Annie. Let's go mail them.
Northridge and Southridge, the perfect gift place for every Santa's helper.
In Japan, they buy a remarkable new car that comes with 7,041 miles already on it. The Accord Coupe, made in Marysville, Ohio.
This Friday and Saturday, Best Buy is putting everything on sale. Wait. Best Buy's already got really low prices. Yes? But this Friday and Saturday, everything in the store is even lower. Save on... Best Buy wouldn't put everything on sale, would they? Well, I guess they would. This Friday and Saturday, everything at Best Buy is on sale. Wow.
During the trial, 3 key pieces of evidence helped convict Lori Bembenek. The gun, which supposedly only she had access to that night. A wig found flushed down a toilet in Bembenek's apartment building, and hair found on the bandana used to gag Christine Schultz. This evidence was all police had to place Bembenek at the murder scene because nobody saw her there. Yet all of the evidence now seems, at the very least, questionable. The questions begin with the 2 strands of bleached blonde hair found on the bandana gag. The hairs were said to be compatible or similar to Bembenek's.
The apparent color-treated hair was compared microscopically and macroscopically with
At the trial, crime lab analyst Diane Hansen testified that one of the hairs came out of an envelope containing evidence gathered during the autopsy. But Assistant Medical Examiner Elaine Samuels, who did the autopsy, says she found no blonde hairs at all.
Blonde hairs that were allegedly found on the body had allegedly came out of the envelope that I had sealed. And as I put no blonde hairs in that envelope, it seemed to me fairly obvious that the blonde hairs had come from some other source.
Over the years, Samuels has signed 3 separate affidavits documenting her concern about the mysterious appearance of the blonde hair. The second blonde hair was found by Diane Hansen herself. Its origins are questionable as well. An examination of Hansen's own worksheet shows that numerous hairs were found on the bandana, but it was only after police had signed the bandana out of and then back into the lab that Hansen seemed to find a few light hairs, one of them bleached blonde, consistent with Bembenek's.
The state crime lab procedure in this case fills me with uncertainty because I think it was a major lapse for whatever reason.
Chesley Irwin was the chief medical examiner at the time of the murder. He has reviewed all of the crime laboratory worksheets and now wonders whether the 2 incriminating hairs were planted by police.
That was used as evidence of Lawrencia's presence at the murder scene. I think under the circumstances, the use of that bandana gag would simply have to be thrown out as far as I'm concerned, because there's simply too many irregularities about it for one to trust it.
The second bit of evidence used to link Bembenek to the murder scene, a wig hair found on Christine Schultz's right leg. It was said to be consistent with this reddish wig, allegedly part of Bembenek's disguise. The wig was found about a week after the murder in a shared drain pipe between a toilet in Bembenek's apartment and a toilet in the apartment right next door, which means it could have been flushed down either toilet. It was assumed Bembenek did it in order to destroy evidence. But in a sworn affidavit, the tenant of the next-door apartment says that the last person to use her toilet before it overflowed and the wig was pulled out was Bembenek's former roommate, Judy Zess. Zess was on bad terms with Bembenek before the murder and later became a key prosecution witness. Her visit was reported to the DA's office, according to the affidavit, but that information was never passed on to the defense. The third and most crucial piece of evidence was the alleged murder weapon, Fred Schultz's .38 caliber off-duty gun. There was expert testimony that the off-duty gun fired the fatal bullet.
My opinion is that State's Exhibit number 8, the .38 special lead bullet, was fired through the barrel of State's Exhibit number 6.
That linked the gun to the murder, and when her husband Fred took the stand, he linked Bembenek to the gun. He was the only one who could do that, and he did. He testified that he'd left the gun in their apartment with her the night of the murder. It seemed only she had access to the weapon that night. And that's what did it for the jury.
The major thing was the gun, and that's really why the jury convicted her. It always went back to the gun.
Is that what made up your mind?
Correct.
What exactly was it about the gun?
Well, they had several experts saying that it was definitely Fred Schultz's off-duty revolver. That was the murder weapon, without a doubt. Scientific facts prove this.
But since then, the scientific facts have been questioned. There's now some doubt that this gun really was the murder weapon. In Canada, at Bembenek's refugee hearing this past summer, there was expert testimony that the gun that sent her to jail could not possibly be the weapon that killed Christine Schultz. Dr. John Hilston Smith is a leading pathologist with the Ontario Forensic Sciences Centre.
It's my firm opinion this gun, the same model, did not cause this injury.
Christine Schultz's wound was what's known as a contact wound. The gun was pressed to her back and then fired. That leaves a muzzle imprint seared into the skin around the bullet hole. Hilston Smith was asked to compare the muzzle imprint around Schultz's wound with the muzzle of a .38 caliber model identical to the alleged murder weapon, Fred Schultz's off-duty gun. The muzzle of another gun was also compared. It's a model identical to Schultz's on-duty service revolver, a standard-issue gun carried by Milwaukee police. Hilston Smith concluded that the muzzle of the off-duty gun is too small to have made the markings seen on the wound, but the muzzle of the service revolver is not. His findings were corroborated by Dr. Werner Spitz, a top forensic pathologist who was Detroit's medical examiner for 16 years. He requested from the Milwaukee Police Department clay imprints of the muzzles of both guns in question and compared them with photos of Christine Schultz's wound.
A comparison of the two weapons, that which is allegedly the murder weapon and that which is Officer Schultz's on-duty revolver, leaves very little to the imagination that the blue molding clay, the alleged murder weapon, can be eliminated. And that only leaves the green molding clay as being compatible with its imprint to the pattern in the skin of the bullet wound of entrance.
But in Milwaukee, the district attorney's office takes exception to the theory that they don't have the right murder weapon. Assistant DA Robert Donahue says they do, and based on that gun, the wig, and the hairs, they have the right murderer.
No, upon an overall look of everything, there is no reason based upon any of those three of those things put together to believe that they indicate that she did not receive a fair trial. Correct. See, everybody assumes that every police investigation is perfect. Even when you have a police officer who is killed, when the public would think that the police investigation would be the best there is, there are glaring errors at best. Just glaring errors made by the police. Why? Because they're human beings. No more, no less. In Lorencia Bembenek's case, as in every other case, yeah, was everything handled perfectly? No. Was everything done at the trial perfectly? No. But the law is you're not entitled to a perfect trial, just a fair one.
Raise your right hand. Swear the testimony given in this case the truth, the whole.
All I know is I didn't kill Christine Schultz, and someone went to an awful lot of trouble to put this whole thing together, and it had to be more than one person.
Crispy McCain French Fries introduces an offer that will blow you away. A stereo cassette, custom made to your order from the McCain hit list of top singles. McCain, the French fries that crank up the crunch. Look for details on specially marked packages of McCain French Fries today.
If this is the last time you could afford to get into the game, let Play It Again Sports get you back into the swing of things. Bring in your used sports equipment and we'll turn them into cash. Then look around at the great prices on all our used and new equipment. Golf, rollerblades, softball, water skis, and more. Well, what do you think?
This place is the bee's knees.
Huh?
Radical, dude.
Visit one of our 9 Play It Again Sports locations today.
Hussar's House of Fine Diamonds' big 40th anniversary sale will end soon. Everything is on sale at 20 to 50% off, but there's still time to buy quality diamonds, colored gemstones, pearls, gold jewelry, crystal, and porcelain art forms during this fabulous 40th anniversary sale. But you'd better hurry. This is the time to buy, and just in time for Christmas. Beautiful jewelry from Hussar's is on sale at 20 to 50% off, but the sale ends soon. Hussar's House of Fine Diamonds, downtown West Bend.
After Lori Bembenek was arrested in Canada, she filed for refugee status, saying she'd been persecuted in the U.S., framed for a murder she didn't commit. And that begs the question, who would bother? Who would have the motive to frame her?
Well, I don't pretend to understand, entirely why. I know what I was involved in, and I know, I know that I was involved in some serious actions against the police department. Not just one, but 2 or 3 different areas. And, perhaps it was convenience, perhaps they needed a fall guy, perhaps I was the easiest target.
At the time of her arrest, Bembenek was a private security guard. By then, she had the reputation of being a troublemaker with the police. A year before the murder, she'd been fired from the force because they said she filed a false report. She said she didn't, so she launched a series of actions against the department and began pressing for an inquiry into police connections with a Milwaukee tavern called The Tracks, a spot then frequented by drug dealers and users. Her Tracks crusade began after she was given photos of a picnic in a public park, sponsored by The Tracks and attended by some police officers. Coincidentally, one was of Fred Schultz, whom she had not yet met.
I think the inquiries that she was causing were fundamental to the way that police department was functioning at that time.
Frank Morocco of the Bay Street law firm Smith Lyons has taken on Bembenek's refugee case. He says there's some connection between her actions against the Milwaukee Police Department and her subsequent arrest for murder.
She was forcing them to examine their hiring practices, trying to prove there was an institutional discrimination in the face of a federal court order. trying to prove that there was a misuse of federal funds, and at the same time trying to prove that there was just basically illegal conduct going on out of that tavern because it bore on her discrimination suit. I don't think you can, I think that's a very significant motive. And I don't think we'll ever really appreciate it because you'll never perhaps be able to identify all of the people who would have been affected had the investigations that she was precipitating reached their logical conclusion rather than being interrupted by her being arrested and prosecuted for murder.
Bembenek's conviction had rested on the testimony of her husband, Fred Schultz.
Yes, and I show you a blue jogging suit.
He took the stand as a witness for the state to make the link between the alleged murder weapon and Bembenek. Yet it's known now that on at least one occasion, Schultz lied on the stand under oath about what exactly he was up to the night of the murder. From what can be pieced together, it seems Schultz and his partner spent some time drinking on the job that night at 2 pubs, this one called Tomter's. He lied about that, and it wasn't the first time he'd lied. Other occasions are documented in a report compiled by his police force after it held an internal investigation into his activities. It resulted in his early retirement. It's also known Schultz threatened his ex-wife before her death. The divorce judgment had granted her the family home, a house he had built, yet she was living in it, had custody of their children, and was dating one of his fellow police officers, a man who had been his friend.
It was a better situation, and especially in the area of finances.
Eugene Kershak handled the divorce settlement for Christine Schultz. He last saw her 23 days before she was murdered.
In the last days that she was in my office, she was afraid of her life. She was afraid that she was going to be killed.
What did she tell you?
She told me that she was worried about her life because her husband had threatened her.
Was she afraid?
She was absolutely afraid. She told me before she left that if anything ever happened to her, she wanted to make sure that I would see to it that her sister, Barbara, would be the one to have charge of the children.
After Christine Schultz was murdered, Kershak filed a report with police about the death threat, but it was never brought up at the trial.
You took every person who made a threat against their spouse or ex-spouse. That itself does not mean they're going to murder them. Okay, a lot of people make threats. You'd like to see you make a threat, then something happens. But Fred Schultz was physically, he could not have done it. He was with several other police officers in the other part of town.
Assistant D.A. Donahue says his office was satisfied with Schultz's alibi, enough to grant him immunity to put him on the stand.
What does that entail for this specific
That means he can't be
case?
prosecuted for the crime of killing Christine Schultz.
Ever?
Right, that's correct.
Whether he needs the protection or not, Schultz has it for life. Living here in Florida, long since divorced from Bembenek, he now scoffs at those who believe in her innocence.
They don't want to believe that this pretty woman, who looks pretty on the outside, is a demon on the inside, that she'll do anything to get what she wants.
He may point the finger at Bembenek, but others now point at him. Over the years, a lot of attention has focused on his past relationship with Fred Horenberger, a man with a long criminal record, including a manslaughter conviction, whose appearance fit the killer's description given by the 2 Schultz boys.
The question, I guess, arises if our client didn't do it, who had a motive? And whoever had a motive, did that person have access? Did that person either do it themselves, or did they have access to someone who did?
Frank Morocco says there's a lot of speculation about the connection between Schultz, Horenberger, and police who may have been hurt by Bembenek's actions against the force.
My suspicion is that the murder was not an event that anybody anticipated, and that after the murder took place, it presented an opportunity to solve a lot of the problems she was creating.
If you put aside all of the questions that have been raised over the years about certain pieces of evidence, if you go right back to the beginning, to the prosecution's theory about what really went on in this house the morning of May 28, 1981, you can still find questions. Because Christine Schultz was a strong, fit woman. There's no evidence her feet were tied together. If her hands were bound together, they must have been bound loosely. When she was found, there was a piece of clothesline looped around the fingers of only one hand. So how did Lorencia Bembenek, even armed with the gun, tie Christine Schultz's hands, gag her with a bandana, go across the hallway to try to strangle the children, re-enter Schultz's bedroom, shoot her, and get away without a scratch?
You'd think there would have been a struggle, there would have been a scuffle, there would have been some evidence there that she was attempting to either protect herself or her children.
James Shello is a top criminal lawyer and law professor in Milwaukee. Like many others, he has questions about the case.
None of us were there. None of us can tell what really happened. But here we have the assailant coming in, presumably carrying a gun, holding a gun on a woman who's undoubtedly frightened, who's concerned about her children. And now what? He puts the gun down on a nightstand and puts a gag on her, and she doesn't struggle, she doesn't do anything. He holds the gun in his teeth while he's putting a gag on her. It doesn't make any sense. There was either more than one person, or she was gagged perhaps after she was shot. I don't know.
When you say signs of a struggle, what do you mean? Like I bludgeon you or something?
There's no sign that she tried to get out of bed and go to her children when she heard them screaming. Her feet weren't tied.
Okay, but the gun could have been on her. We don't know that, okay?
How could the gun be on her in one bedroom when her kid's being strangled in the other bedroom?
Because you say, I'm going to put the gun on you, and if you move, I'm going to kill your kids, okay? You would not move, okay? There are 1,000 ways of doing things, okay? You're saying that because we can't say exactly what happened, that somehow she didn't do it, okay? That means that nobody killed Christine Schultz. That means Christine Schultz must have committed suicide. Okay?
No, I'm saying if you don't have a reasonable explanation, does it not leave room for some sort of question?
No.
In your mind?
No. Under that theory, then, we could not try any circumstantial case. Okay? No.
Over the years, so many eyes have turned to the police force with cynicism and disbelief that the judiciary in Milwaukee recently agreed to hold an inquiry into possible police wrongdoings in this case. It's a secret inquiry, not a new public trial.
I don't know why the state of Wisconsin is so concerned to preserve this particular conviction. The integrity of this conviction is not that solid. It seems to me that our cause of justice, our system of justice, would be better served if the state of Wisconsin were just to say, okay, we still think she's guilty, we still think we proved she was guilty, we still think that it was a fair trial, but there are enough questions that are raised here so that let's just do it again.
That's what Lorencia Bembenek has been saying for years, but now she's given up all hope she'll ever have a new trial. Are you prepared then to spend a long time in jail still?
Well, what else can I do? You know, you can't die at will. I mean, I have no alternative. They intend to send me to some federal prison somewhere. I don't know if I'll be in California or Kentucky or Florida. I know I'll be thousands of miles away from home and all my supporters, which is probably their motive. You know, and they've made it very clear that they intend to get rid of me, shut me up, get me away from all my supporters, get me away from, you know, let's hope the media attention dies down, and the truth will never come out.
We may never know if Lorencia Bembenek actually did kill Christine Schultz. What we do know is that Bembenek's fight for freedom will continue for many months here in Milwaukee and also in Canada. And as the producers of this program have concluded, in many ways, it's not so much Bembenek as it is the system that convicted her that's on trial. Thanks for joining us for Justice on Trial from the CBC. I'm Mike Jacobs.